Hello students, we are going to start the fundamentals of life. This is your fifth chapter of ninth grade biology. I am Sonali Kelkar. I will be teaching you this chapter. Now, what do you mean by cell? I think this is not the first time you have heard about the word cell, right? The cell was long back discovered by the Robert Hooke. He was a scientist. He discovered the cell under the microscope, and what he found under the microscope, he found a honeycomb-like structure. They are the small boxes. These are empty boxes surrounded by walls. These cells looks like a small rooms. These cells also has a similarity with the cells, or we say jail in a common language. Okay, so that is why he coined the term cell. He is the one who coined the term cell. But what he observed under the microscope was a thin slice of cork. And we all know that this cork is made up of dead cell. So he couldn't able to observe a live cell, a living cell. What he observed was a dead cell. Okay, so let us go and study about the different inventions and the discoveries made in the field of cell. Now let us see what are the living organisms are made up of. As we all know that all living organisms are made up of cell. It is just like a building which is made up of walls, roof, flooring, and the basic unit to build up this building is a brick. Similarly, in human beings, right, or in any living organism, especially multicellular organisms, body is made up of small units, the fundamental unit, which is known as cell. These cells have a capacity to survive by themselves. That means a single cell can survive by itself, because a single cell has a capacity to do all the life processes by itself. These life processes such as respiration, excretion, digestion, reproduction, all basic life processes can be performed by a cell, right? And all these life processes are also result into the function of a body. So that is why we call that cell is a structural and functional unit of living organism. Now let us do an activity in which we are going to take out an onion peel from a bulb of onion. In this experiment, first of all, you have to remove a onion peel, then with the help of a forceps, and then you have to put it in a watch glass, sorry. Put it in a watch glass which is already filled with water. You have to take few drops of water in a watch glass and then peel this. You have to remove the onion peel and then you have to put it in a watch glass. After that, you have to take it and put it on or mount it on the slide. This slide has a little groove in between, in the middle of the slide. There is a little groove. You are going to keep this peel in that groove, and then you have to put a dye which is methylene blue or saffron dye. Because of this dye, you will see a bluish color cell structures under the microscope. This dye is absorbed by the different organelles, and then you can able to see the different organelles under the microscope. After you are prepared with the slide, you have to put a cover slip over the slide. Remember, there shouldn't be any bubbles in the slide. Then mount your slide on the compound microscope and then you have to observe the slide under the compound microscope. Okay, the structure what you are going to observe under the compound microscope is given on the screen. Now let's see in the other slide. What are the major discoveries which are related to cells? These all discoveries are very important for you to learn. Let us take the first one, Robert Hooke. About Robert Hooke, I have already told you. He observed the cell for the first time under the microscope, but what he observed was a dead cell. Then afterwards, Leeuwenhoek, he discovered free living cells in pond water. Leeuwenhoek was a Dutch scientist, and what he first made was a simple microscope. So he was the one who made simple microscope, which is made up of one biconvex lens. After that, Robert Brown was a scientist who discovered nucleus. Then Purkinje coined the term protoplasm. He saw protoplasm and then he coined the term protoplasm. So what is protoplasm now? Protoplasm is a combined structure of nucleoplasm and cytoplasm. That is, cytoplasm with nucleus is known as protoplasm. Then comes Sheldon and Schwann. Sheldon was a botanist from Germany. He discovered that all the plants are made up of a basic unit called cells. So what he saw, plant cells under the microscope, and these cells are the basic unit of all the plants. Schwann was a zoologist from Germany, and what he observed that even the animal cells are made up of some fundamental units which are called cells. And then he combined the two theories and said that the basic structural and the functional unit of plant and animal is cell. Then comes Virchow. Virchow suggested that all cells arises from the pre-existing cells. That means cells are divide and redivide so that the new cells can be formed. These new cells are responsible for the growth and development of the body. They even replace the old cells and the torn out cells or the damaged cells. Here in this slide, we are going to see the difference between the single and multicellular organisms. A single cell organism is made up of a single cell. It is very obvious. And examples of single cells can be fungi, few bacteria, and fungi, and amoeba is also a single cell organism, Paramecium, amoeba, Euglena, Chlamydomonas, all these single cell organisms. Okay, they are made up of single cell, and this single cell constitute the whole organism. In single cells, there is no division of labor. That means you won't find any other organelles which are responsible for doing one particular function. Let's take an example. The cell itself responsible for doing excretion, nutrition, transportation, respiration, and reproduction. So all these functions of body are performed by a single cell. The examples we have already discussed. I told you amoeba, Chlamydomonas, Paramecium. Coming to the multicellular organisms. Multicellular organisms, as the name suggests, they are made up of different type of cells. We also know that the cells forms and combine together. The cells combine together and forms tissues. And tissues combine together and form an organ. Organs comes together which are responsible for doing almost a similar type of function. They form organ system, and from organ system forms a body. So in multicellular organism, you will find different types of cells performing different type of functions, and every cell has a different type of structure according to the function it performs. Let's take an example of RBCs. RBCs are biconcave, they are flattened, they are spherical in shape. They are spherical in shape means they can pass through the small blood vessels and capillaries smoothly. The biconcave shape helps to carry oxygen. The nerve cells, which are long and they are branched also. The dendrites coming out from the upper part of the nerve cells helps to conduct impulses from the sense organs, and this is with the help of impulses, these information will be passed on to the spinal cord or to brain so that the body responds accordingly. Now, body in multicellular organisms, body constitute of multiple cells which perform different functions. Then there is a division of labor. Every cell is specialized to perform different functions. Okay, for example, multicellular cellular organisms are human beings, bear, monkey, okay, dolphins, shark. These are the different type of examples of multicellular organisms. Coming to the shape of the cells. We know that the cells have a different shape. They don't have a fixed shape in multicellular organism. Let's take an example of plant. In plants, we have xylem, which conducts water and mineral from roots to the different parts of the plant. Then in animal cell, we have, I have already discussed about the nerve cells and RBCs. There is more to discuss about WBCs. WBCs doesn't have fixed cells, fixed shape, because it has to ooze out from the capillaries. So it cannot have fixed shape. Smooth muscular tissues, they are spindle in shape. Cardiac tissues, they are branched and straighted. Then we have voluntary muscles. Even the cells or the tissues of voluntary muscles, they are straighted. So they are straighted because they have to do the function of contraction and relaxation. Smooth muscles make internal organs. In fact, all the internal organs, almost all. Stomach, let's take an example, stomach, intestine, esophagus, okay, urinary bladder. These are made up of smooth muscles because their function is continuous function. They have to perform continuously inside our body. Okay, they cannot stop. So smooth muscles helps in that movement. Cells like WBCs and amoeba keep changing. I have already explained you about this. Then example of fixed shaped cells are epithelial cell, fat cells, which are, fat cells, they have to store adipose. Fat cells are adipose tissues. They have to store fat in it. So they have fixed shape. Even ovum is also has a fixed shape. Sperms, they have fixed shape. So these are the cells which have fixed shape. RBC is also fixed shape. Then there are spindle shaped. Smooth muscles are spindle shaped, and sperms are thread like shape. Discoidal shape, RBCs, and the nerve cells are elongated. So we have already discussed about the different shapes of different cells performing different functions, and the shape of the cells is according to their function. Let us have the look of different shapes. Here you can see the smooth muscles, which is spindle shape. Then the blood cells, they are rounded. Discoidal nerve cells, they are elongated so that nerve impulses can pass over it. And fat cells, okay, the middle gap of the fat cells where the fat is stored. They are also commonly known as adipose cells or adipose tissue. Then we have a bone cells which has hard matrix. Then ovum is round in shape, and the sperm. Sperm is the only cell in our body which has flagella for the movement of the sperm. There are three basic features of the cell which you are going to find in each and every cell. These three basic structures are nucleus, cytoplasm, and cell membrane. So every cell is composed of nucleus. Every cell will always have a nucleus in the center, or it can be in the periphery in case of plant cells. Nucleus is usually in the center in animal cells. Then cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is clear fluid in which organelles are embedded. There are different metabolic processes takes place in cytoplasm. Then cell membrane. It is the outermost membrane in case of animal cell, and in case of plant cell, this cell membrane is next to the cell wall. These are the three important and basic features of almost every cell. Let's do the functions of cells. Okay. Now, shape and size of the cells are related to the specific functions they perform. Then multicellular organism like human being perform these functions by the division of labor. Let me explain you the division of labor. That means in our whole body, there are different organs which performs a specific function. For example, brain. Brain has a function of control and coordination of body. So brain is specialized in doing that function. Then we have stomach, small intestine, large intestine, right? Which performs the functions of digestion of food. Then blood performs the function of a transportation. That means it transports oxygen as well as nutrients, okay, from the oxygen from lungs to the each and every cell or each and every part of the body, which is of course made up of living cells. Then it takes nutrients which is absorbed in small intestine to each and every cell of our body. Let's take the example of single cell organism. Amoeba, Chlamydomonas, Euglena, these are the single cell organism where the division of labor is not seen. That means a single cell itself is responsible of performing all these functions. Then cell organelles together along with the protoplasm constitute the basic unit of life called the cell. So we can define cell in this manner. It is a basic unit of life and it constitutes of different cell organelles. And all the cell organelles, they are responsible of doing one or the particular function which is very vital or important for the survival of cell. That is the reason the cell can live by its own, but organelles cannot live by its own. Suppose you remove mitochondria from the cell, it won't live. It will die immediately. Okay, it won't work. Whereas the cell itself, if you put a cell, let's take a liver cell in a solution which provides a nutrient to the cell, then the cell will remain in that solution forever till the time you're providing. So cell will remain alive. Okay, even if it is detached from your body, it is detached from the organ. Clearly, for example, stem cell is the example. It is a great example which shows that cells can live independently. Now, children, you are supposed to do the homework. Uh, I'll explain you the question. I'll give you the hint of answer also, who discovered the cell and how. I think this has been clearly given in the slides. So I don't have to give any hint regarding this question. Then the cell is, why is the cell called structure and function unit of life? And who coined the term protoplasm? This answer is also given. Name two unicellular organisms. Draw any two cell shapes to justify the statement that cells comes in variety of shapes. I think I have discussed all this point quite in detail, and you can able to answer all the questions. So thank you so much, and please revise the chapter till where I have done. We will soon going to meet with the next video. Thank you.